about burnout during the COVID-19 pandemic. So burnout is a type of work-related stress. It's usually seen as overall exhaustion, a loss of motivation and productivity, and sometimes even a loss of identity. And according to a study published in KFF or the Kaiser Family Foundation, symptoms of burnout are being seen more often in all working populations. And there are several important statistics to note from the study. First off, I think Manu mentioned this in her slides, but around 42% of essential workers and 30% of non-essential workers have experienced symptoms similar to burnout. And it's also been seen that women are more likely to experience symptoms of burnout, which is likely due to the aforementioned growing social disparities from the pandemic. It's also important to note that healthcare workers are especially vulnerable to burnout and other forms of adverse psychological effects because they're on the front lines. And it's thought that the breaking down of work and home boundaries might lead to more instances of burnout than normal for remote workers. And for essential workers, there's an extra level of stress from catching the virus from work. Next slide. So on this next slide, I have a graph which shows the prevalence of adverse psychological mechanisms in the working populations. So the first set shows the percentage of populations that have symptoms of burnout, anxiety, or depressive disorders. The second set shows the proportion that increased or began abusing substances. And the third shows the proportion that has experienced suicidal ideation. It's especially alarming to see the decrease or the effects of mental health of essential workers during the pandemic. So remote workers also have some difficult scenarios because the change in overlap of work and home environments can be difficult to adjust to. Failing to maintain the balance between work and home responsibilities can decrease motivation and productivity and lead to burnout. Some things that some things that help maintain a work-life balance and prevent burnout are having a designated workspace and keeping work and home stuff separate. Taking breaks can help with mental fatigue. Maintaining a good routine and sleep schedule can help you get more used to your day. And fostering your social connections can also help you lose some of the burden of stress. And all this helps us talk about the concept of resilience. It's important to note that resilience cannot be built up overnight, and managing stress is difficult and it takes time. But I'll talk more about this resilience stuff later.
Zoom fatigue. So when the pandemic started, obviously teachers and everybody was scrambling to find out, which platform should we use? And so, I mean, Zoom fatigue isn't just specific to Zoom, but it's basically just any tiredness, worry, or burnout that is associated with overusing virtual platforms of communication. Now, they're kind of new. This is kind of a new concept, but it's also widely prevalent and intense right now because most of us spend a lot of time on Zoom in our average working day. There was an article which had possible causes, and I thought it was interesting. So, the first two reasons at least have to do with the rewards pathway. So, the psychological reward pathway basically just releases oxytocin, which makes you less tired. So when you meet face to face with other humans in a normal, non-pandemic setting, usually you don't feel too tired, even if your days are a lot longer because of the rewards pathway. But the virtual environment kind of takes that away, so you end up feeling a little bit more tired at the end of your, Zoom meetings or whatever. Audio delays are associated with negative perceptions. I had no clue about that. And so that can increase distrust between people, decrease in reward system, and again, leads to us feeling a little bit more tired when we're on Zoom. There could be other financial and personal stressors that can cause undue fatigue during this pandemic, obviously. So those could be extra stressors to make you tired. And then invasion of privacy. So a lot of us don't expect to have our workspace is in the same place as, where we're having our personal life around. But for the first time, we've had to cope with that. And so kind of just processing that can be a little bit not worrisome, but it can be hard to process it at first. And then staring at the screen for prolonged periods of time can also make you really sleepy. I just thought I'd insert a meme to the right because it's pretty funny. All right, breakout room 1. So basically, we're just going to put you in breakout rooms. We have a video for you guys to watch, and we have a article, which I thought was interesting from NPR, and a couple of follow-up questions. Just whatever you're comfortable with sharing, go ahead and share it. There will be facilitators, and yeah.
Awesome. So Jonathan did just share a document in the chat. Please make sure you click on that, and I will go ahead and open the breakout rooms.